Welcome to the Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with your host, Charlie Butler. This is where you'll learn to sell your home quickly and for more money. And now, the host of the Real Estate Show, the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler.
Good morning, Evansville. This is Charlie Butler, and this is the Charlie Butler Real Estate Show with my co-host, Evie Barr.
Good morning, Charlie. How are you?
I'm doing great, Evie. How are you this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. It's Sunday. It's a great day to be off and possibly get out and look at those open houses.
Yeah, starting about usually about noon today till about 4 o'clock, there will be a lot of open houses, not only from my team, the Charlie Butler team, but from Keller Williams Realty, our company, and other companies too. We certainly encourage everybody to go out and look at everybody's. And if you go online to buyhomesnow.com or kwevansville.com, we'll have all the Keller Williams open houses, and there are many more out there. So it's a great day to go out and look. The market still, and it seems like it's always in this area, Evie, the 150 to 200, and even down the 100 to 200. Maybe you see different things, but that's the market I really see in this area.
Yes, I mean, sometimes it adjusts, but the Evansville market is still going well. So how are things on the listing side with the inventory? Is it up? Is it down?
Inventory is, as it has been for months, is still tight. It's starting to loosen up a little bit, but and telling people in the tri-state area, if you've got a home, really, I'm not saying, and I said this I think recently on the air too. If you've got a home under $300,000, that is usually a fairly quick sale right now. Under $200,000 is usually if your home, and I'm saying this, and people are saying, he's saying this. My home's been sitting here for months. And I've had, 95% of the time, Evie, it's either price or condition.
Yes.
Either the home, and not offending anybody that's out there that's got their home for, either the home's overpriced or the condition needs to be better.
Right.
And that's where, you call a professional in, call a realtor. We do this a lot, and we do, and it's a free service. People call and say, hey, we're going to be selling our house in a year. Can you come in? And they know there's things need to be done. Can you come in and tell us what we think needs to be done? And
which, whenever you have a listing, or you go to an interview for a listing, let's say, how do you give that seller their price? Where are you deriving those numbers from?
We go the multi-list system, which we can pull up in our multiple listing service. We can pull up all the comparables. Let's say it's a $175,000 house, or we think it is.
Yes.
Okay. Or that neighborhood is. And so we go to that neighborhood, we pull the comparables up, and the one we've got is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and the one that and the houses we're comparing it to are also 3-bedroom, 2-bath. We look for there's interior pictures. So we try to get as close as we can, try to keep those comparables within 6 months. Yes. Got an appraiser sitting next to me who will probably kick me, who would use 6 months probably. But we do. So that's how, so we try, it's not, people think it's rocket science. It's not.
Yes.
It's just getting out there, getting your home in good shape. And also the other misnomer, people still think, and some people, not all people, they think it's like selling a used car used to be. You price it way up there, and people will make you an offer for $50,000 less. It's not going to happen.
No.
People are going to go on to the next house. There's just not, they don't have to, because there's other selections out there. Well, the inventory may be tight. There are other things, and I don't know why that I talked about how to price a house, because we got a guest here that really does know that. And Kelly Poet's with us this morning from Appraisal Services. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning.
And Kelly, Evie, ask your the same question you just asked me. Go ahead and ask Kelly.
Kelly, how do you figure out what a true value of a house is?
Yeah, well, that's what I was wanting to say when Charlie was talking about that, was that, it would be important for appraisers and realtors to be on the same page as far as whenever they're looking for comparables, because that has happened many times. Because I think the difference is that appraisers have guidelines that they have to follow for underwriting purposes. And so, while you may look for something that's like similar in like bedroom count or condition, but there's been many times where I've seen where realtors have overlooked homes that are in a neighborhood and go outside the neighborhood to list a home. And so then when the appraiser comes in and they go to do the appraisal, they can't overlook those homes that are in the neighborhood. So they have to use that, and sometimes that affects the value. And then whenever they talk to the realtor about it, the realtor, because as an appraiser, I always will call a realtor if there is a problem with the value, and to find out what it is that they use for their market analysis. And that's what I have found sometimes, is that they will go outside the neighborhood, and that really affects it. So, and I'm not saying you would use every house in the neighborhood, but
I know what you're saying.
if there are similar homes, you don't overlook those homes,
But, Kelly, then that, as you were talking, that made me think of something. So what do you do, and let's say you've got someone, and I'm just going to, an example pops in my head, lives out in the country. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of comps around, and they've built this beautiful house out in the country, $300,000 house surrounded by $100,000 houses.
Yeah.
And you know the situation I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
So I know for realtors it is, we don't have the guidelines to go by that you have to go by law. So what do you do in those situations? Well,
I mean, for rural areas, you're allowed to go out further as far as the guidelines. Depending on how far it is out. But, in a suburban area or urban area, you need to stay within like a mile, or you try to, within a mile and 6 months back. But when you have extenuating circumstances like that in a rural area, you are allowed to go out 10, 20 miles, just so that you can try to find something that's the best comparable that you can find. I mean, you're not always going to find a good comparable when you're in a rural area. So it makes it very difficult. But you try to bracket, if a house has 10 acres and it's a newer home, and you find an older home has 10 acres. Well, you'll use that comp, but then you have to adjust for the age. And then you try to find a newer home that maybe doesn't have acreage, and then you adjust for the acreage. So you just do the best that you can do in those circumstances.
I've got a question. As when I knew you were coming on, a question that we get a lot, and Evie, you and I were talking about this the other day.
Yes.
And I know Evie gets this same question. Clients ask, they make an offer on a house and get it accepted. And they say, okay, I've agreed to pay this price, and the bank's agreed to loan me the money, and the realtor says this is what the price is. Why do I have to pay this X amount of dollars to the appraiser for this? It seems like everybody's on the same page. Why do we need the appraiser in there?
The appraiser's the regulator.
All right. We have said that many times. Yeah. Why do we need the appraiser in there?
Well, an appraiser has to use historical sales. So, unfortunately, in a changing market like right now, whenever there's lack of inventory, then the prices are going up, and it's hard for us to justify that. It's not that we maybe not think that the house should be worth it. It's just that we have to justify it. We have to prove it to the underwriter. We can't just say, yeah, it looks like it should be worth that based on, the house being really nice, but you have to prove it. And that's the problem right now. And I mean, I try to work as much as good as I can on this kind of thing, because in the changing market, if we don't get these sales through, the market's never going to go up, as the appraiser.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
So unless it's blatantly way off, I try to work my magic, I guess, as much as I can to make it go through. And a lot of comments. That's the key, is to comment on why you did what and justify it. And if you can justify it, then it usually works with the underwriter.
And I've seen where if an an appraiser does not have a lot of comments, it seems like our underwriter is always going to find more questions to ask to get more comments.
Because that's our job, is to help that underwriter understand what your logic is on this.
Yes.
And if you don't explain it, then how are they going to know? They're not. They can't just take what you say as, oh, well, she's the appraiser, so that must be right.
Yes.
I mean, that's their job. So
now I have a question for you. Of course, Wirestone Mortgage finances FHA loans. I know that there's been changes with appraisals in the FHA world, and so many people are so concerned about what the appraiser is going to hit upon for needing improvements. So can you kind of go through, whenever you're doing an FHA appraisal, what exactly you are looking for that might need to be improved?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, HUD's main concern is health and safety. So when an appraiser goes through, they're looking for anything like a home that's built before 1978. If there's any kind of peeling paint anywhere, it could be possibly lead. So they have to call that as that needs to be scraped and repainted. You look in the attic for any kind of, make sure there's ventilation, make sure there's no infestation or debris, and the same in the crawl. No standing water, any kind of moisture, any kind of debris there. And then handrails on any kind of stairs or decks that are higher than 30 inches. If there's no handrails, then that's a safety issue, so that would need to be done. Let's see.
And Kelly, I made a kind of a joking comment earlier about why do we need this appraisal, but the banks and mortgage companies, I mean, for the first-time home buyers that are listening, banks and mortgage companies require this appraisal.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not that, it's not just something that we all just want to do.
Right, right.
This is required. You're kind of the eyes of the underwriter.
Right. Yes. Some other things are, and some changes on FHA that you asked about last year. They require appraisers to check all appliances, make sure all the appliances are in working order. So we have to actually run the dishwasher, turn the oven on and the stove, and just make sure everything's working. All the light fixtures, garage door, stuff like that. So that's basically what it is. Just mainly health and safety issues. They want to make sure that it is in good working order for the occupant.
Yes. That's safe and secure.
Yeah.
So, and something else, and you mentioned this earlier about really, you do your best to find comps. And I know, Kelly and I know each other. We've worked together in the past, and other good appraisers are this way too. You don't, if you can't find it, you just don't say no. It can't be done. You reach out. I know you have to me. You reach out to whoever the realtor is and say, hey, where did you get your price at? Am I missing something?
Right,
here?
right.
So you try. You go the extra mile to try.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, we all make mistakes. So I don't want to turn in something that I haven't exhausted all options, because there may be something that I don't know about. And sometimes there's homes that have sold by owner that maybe I can't find, but maybe you may know of something that when you were listing a house that you knew of.
Right.
So I try to do the best that I can, because appraisers don't like to make that phone call to say we can't get the value. I mean, it doesn't make us happy.
The lenders don't like
Nobody
to see
likes
it.
that phone call.
and that's something I think sometimes people are misinformed or have the wrong impression. They think, well, the bank just really didn't want to loan me the money, or the appraiser would just, they were too tight. They didn't, my house is worth more than the appraiser. No, the banks are in business to loan money.
Right.
You're in business to do appraisals. Mm-hmm. We're in business to sell houses. So everybody wants that deal to go through.
Well, yeah. Yes.
We all want to be happy with it.
Yes.
And one thing I believe that buyers need to realize is if an appraisal is done and it comes back low, how does that affect the purchase agreement, Charlie, or the purchase price?
It's...
Is that open for renegotiations at that point in time if we have a lower appraised value than the purchase price?
Well, for most banks, and again, that's up to the bank or the mortgage company. but and maybe it for you guys for Waterstone,
Right?
Is that open for you guys if it comes in lower?
Well, what I normally tell my borrowers, I had a borrower that was really concerned about where his appraised value was going to come in at, and I believe though on the purchase agreement. And I always disclose I'm not the realtor, which is why I was asking you. But isn't it on the purchase agreement that the purchase price, if an appraisal is done, the appraised value needs to come in at least the purchase price, so that protects the buyer there.
Now, in that respect, you're correct. That is, if it doesn't appraise, that's an automatic out for the buyer. But we usually, I mean, just to be honest, most deals die. If they don't appraise. Most of the time, and I know you don't see that side.
I don't see that side, but I have seen several times where I'll get an addendum to purchase where they actually renegotiate, and then I have to change the appraisal, not the appraisal value, but the sale price on the appraisal. So I know that it does happen. I have seen it happen more often this year because of the changing market, because the value's not always there.
I was telling Evie this the other day, and I've got an interesting appraisal story. I'll leave names out of this. But, we all, as some of you know that know the Charlie Butler team, we also have a commercial division. And so we were selling an apartment complex here in Evansville, and it was deep into six figures. The appraiser, this has been several years ago, but the appraiser that appraised it, he called me and he said, "Is there anything else out there besides what I saw?" No, and then it was like 06, red hot market. We were pricing. I remember I priced this. I advertised it in the Los Angeles Times. Had a guy fly in from California and write a purchase agreement on Monday. And I said, "There's," he said, this is all I can come up with, which was like 50,000 less. So I called the owner. He said, "I'll just hang on to it." He said, "It's been a good property for me, so it's getting to be a real bad day." At that point.
Yeah.
So I think, well, I'll call the buyer and tell him, and I know he's not going, because it's $50,000, and we were talking about somewhere over a $500,000 sale price here. And he says to me, when I tell him, he says, "What do I need that appraisal for?" I said, "Well, the bank won't finance it, or the mortgage company won't finance it unless it appraises." He says, "Well, what if I write a check?" I said, "Cha-ching."
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
It's a better day again.
The day got a whole lot better really fast. So, but we were talking about that. That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, you could thank that appraiser for that. Huh?
That one turned out, he's retired now, but good guy. But anyway, we're just talking about normally, and it's weird, Kelly. If it falls even if it's $2,000-$3,000 short, and whether the seller is saying, "Well, I'll lower the price that much," which sometimes works, but sometimes people mentally at that point are thinking, "Well, there's something wrong, or it's not worth as much," And so I just don't think. In my opinion, I don't think people are educated well enough, and that's partly the realtor's fault. That on what the appraiser does.
Yeah,
I really don't.
Yeah.
As a mortgage lender, I'm not allowed to have contact with the appraiser at all regarding the value. That's against the law. But I appreciate the fact, knowing that you do reach out to the realtors if you don't hit that value, because an appraisal, it's not like it's an exact science.
Right.
Don't you have wiggle room there if you don't come in at where it's supposed to be?
And that's the way I see it too. It's more of an art than a science, because it's not, so you do have a range of value. So you can be low or you can be high or you can be right in the middle. So, sometimes it's best just to, call the realtor and find out if there's something else that you're just not. Maybe there's something else about the house that you didn't know, or, that you didn't see or notice, or, just anything. So
does it concern you? I just had an appraiser tell me this recently. You're doing a house, you see the price, you see the purchase agreement, and it comes in way higher. than what the purchase
Way
agreement
higher.
is.
Yeah.
Do you suddenly? Yeah, I just had this conversation recently with another appraiser. Do you think, am I missing something here? Because it is so much higher, and is the bank or mortgage company going to think I'm nuts for appraising it for this much?
Yeah, I mean that has happened to me before. But if I have good enough comps to justify it, then I feel that I'm in line.
Right.
Especially if it's in a suburban or an urban area where you have a good base of comps. Then because I have ran into that a couple times this year because of the changing market.
Yeah, and I agree with you. But this conversation was like, I don't think I can take this appraisal back to the bank because I'm afraid it's too much.
Yeah.
Over and they were.
I know that's happened to me because then you worry that you're not doing something right, and then you're overvaluing it, and then they may take some cash out or however that works. I don't know how it works on the lending side, but that because you valued it so much higher that they may take extra cash, and then you mess something up because you didn't value it right.
As a mortgage lender, if it's a purchase transaction, I'm excited to see it coming in any bit higher than the purchase price because then the borrowers just gain more equity.
Exactly.
In it.
Yes.
So, and they're going to be thrilled whenever you call and tell them, "Hey, this is what your
you like that
appraised
phone
value
call.
is." Yeah, everybody's happy.
Everybody's happy with that phone call.
Yeah.
And but Evie, is there in the programs that you have? Is there any advantage for when? Well, Kelly and I were talking about when it does come in higher, or your wealth builder program we talked about on other shows. I mean, there's going to be some repairs done to that house, and I'm getting my programs. But
yes,
you know where I'm trying to go with this.
I know where you're going with it. With Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae guidelines, which is what we abide by, how they see the value of the house is the purchase price or the appraised value, whichever is less. Because, I mean, if it appraises for less than your purchase price, why would you pay more than that for it? So they go off of the lower of the two values. So even if the house does come in X amount higher on the appraised value than what the purchase price is, whenever the borrower is purchasing the house at that point in time, the equity really doesn't count at that point in time because we have to take the lower of the two values. Now, if they go to refinance a year out from then, that's going to benefit them because then, as long as they've maintained the value of the house, then that kicks into where they have more equity in the home.
Okay. So there's really, you don't have programs like we had 10 years ago where it was beneficial to have, I think we all remember that, beneficial to have a higher appraisal. If you need repairs done, you could roll that in there.
That's what I was thinking that was still going on.
Subject to, I remember, of course, we did a lot of them back then.
Yeah. And there still are subject to appraisals at this point.
Not to the, I don't think to the extent.
No.
Since the crash in 08.
It's mainly on the commercial side. Rentals and side, yeah.
Because, and that's something, Kelly, do you do some commercial, don't you?
I just do. I do mainly just investment properties on the commercial side,
but you do some commercial.
I do duplexes and triplexes and some apartments.
So there are, and I guess that's something we'll talk about just for a few minutes here. What we talked about has been residential so far, and pretty strict guidelines, aren't there, in residential?
Yes.
And we move over to the other side when you work with the commercial lenders. As I heard a commercial lender tell me, we're in the Wild West of real estate.
Yeah, it's totally different.
Black and white, total difference there between the two.
Yeah, so it's a little easier.
Without people thinking we're going, or running up, shooting each other, but it's not as
strict at all. No, it's a lot easier to. They don't have the guidelines because you're not following the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac guidelines like you are on the residential side. So,
I think that I always thought the theory was that you had usually, and it's not always more sophisticated investors, for example, that know what they're doing on that side, and they it's almost like, I hate to use this term, but it's almost like a buyer beware.
Yeah.
Because the guidelines all the way through, not just the appraisal guidelines, But I remember the first I've done a lot of commercial deals because my team has commercial division. I remember the very first commercial big deal I ever did. They just there was a sheet of paper there that was. I said, "Well, where's our HUD statement at?" We don't use HUD statements. I said, "What? We always had to have HUD statements." And the banker turned to me and he smiled. He said, "You've entered the wild west of real estate." And so, Kelly, we talked earlier about condition. Evie and I were talking about the condition of homes. How important when you go in, and do you get those calls? Do you get those calls? And I know you get some of those calls where people say, "I'm gonna be selling my house.
Mm-hmm.
Will you come out and appraise it for me?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before they ever put it on the market.
Yeah, I do.
And so how. You heard me talk about condition earlier. How important is that to you when you look at a house?
Oh, it's very important. I mean, that affects the value quite a bit. I mean, when you're doing an appraisal, obviously location's the first thing.
Sure.
And then the size of the property, and then, as far as condition. So that, I'm not a realtor, so I don't know as far as that's the difference between the appraiser and the realtor. Because I do have people ask me when I'm there, well, should I do this and should I do that? But that's more of a curb appeal kind of thing, or that's something really more for a realtor to tell someone, like, what's the best way to present the property to, but I'm more just giving them the bottom line, and I tell them that I'll appraise it. That's the value. That's the value that I'm coming in. It doesn't mean that you can't ask a little bit higher, because obviously that's not science.
Right.
It's just a range, so I try to give them kind of a range of where they could go with. But yeah, condition is definitely a big factor.
Yeah. It's as we always say, it's 95% price or condition.
Oh, yeah.
It's 95% of the time why a house doesn't sell.
Yeah.
And Kelly was talking, Evie, I may not have told you this, but when I started in real estate, long ago. Obviously, he was much younger than when I started. But Kelly's husband, Brian, started in real estate with me at the same time.
Really?
Yeah, he was a realtor for a
I did not know that.
Brian was a brand new realtor. We were the only, it was a company called the Realty Group that got bought by FC Tucker a few years ago.
Yes.
And it was mainly big producing realtors. Brian and I at the time were the only new realtors out of school that they'd ever hired.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I found out that later from Wayne Ellis. And didn't make us popular with a lot of people because we were completely against the model, but we got in, we got in there and did some business. So, and Brian is also Kelly's partner.
Yes.
In appraisal services. So you can call Kelly or Brian, either one. And Kelly, for those people, or obviously realtors just can't call you up and say, hey, can
lenders cannot call you up.
Yeah, lenders can't either. No, we better not tell those stories from back before the crash. Okay.
But I do have realtors call me occasionally to ask me if they have a difficult property to give them, an idea of what I would value it at. So,
but quickly, so the public, if they want an appraisal, a realtor, if they want. How do they get a hold of you, Kelly?
You can call me at 812-573-9578, or you can email me at Kelly, Kelly, at appraisalservices2.com.
And if you missed that, we'll be glad. Evie or I, either one, will be glad to give that to you. And Evie, I know we're getting close out of time.
Yes.
And this has been fascinating with Kelly, but if they need to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you, Evie?
Can call me at 812-463-3199 or email me at ebar@waterstonemortgage.com.
And as far as the Charlie Butler team, you can, if you're interested in listing a house, call us at 812-449-0050. If you're interested in buying a house, 812-430-1708. Or you can call me on my cell. I've always got it, 812-449-7758. Email me at cbutler@kw.com. If you want something for the program, tell Evie, tell me. If you have questions, we'll gladly get them on. And I think we're running out of time. So for Evie, this is Charlie Butler, the Charlie Butler Show. Have a great Sunday, everyone.
You've been listening to The Real Estate Show on WGBF AM with the guy who guarantees to sell your home or he'll buy it himself, Charlie Butler. Join us every week at this time to find out how to sell your home quickly and for more money. For more information, email cbutler@kw.com or visit charliebutlerteam.com.